It starts with a plan, and then we hold your hand till your dreams come true, 'cause that is what we do.
Welcome to the Plancast. This is our very first episode of our podcast by Planswell. I'm your host, Eric Arnold, CEO. Today's guest is Scott Wetton, my longtime co-founder of about 6 different companies that you're going to hear about, and current COO at Planswell. When you're good and ready, you can make your own plan by going to planswell.com. You can find out in about 3 minutes flat exactly what you need to do on a monthly basis to make sure that you maintain your lifestyle throughout the rest of your life, putting your kids through school or retiring. You can go to planswell.com and get that started as soon as you finish listening to this amazing podcast. Welcome to my show.
Thank you. I guess I can go through a bit about how I ended up being a co-founder to the dozens of startups and ideas that we've had at the time and in the past. But so I met Eric through a mutual friend back in basically just before university, and we met, and he came to me with a scope as to something that he wanted to build, and I said, yeah, sure, I can build that, because that's typically kind of how I've worked in the past. So my background is I've been a builder and developer of many different products. Went to university, decided to take a swing at becoming an engineer, an industrial engineer. Did that for about 9 years of various different energy companies across Canada, and then Eric, after 8.5, 9 years, finally convinced me to quit my job and work full-time here at Planswell. And that's kind of the direction of my background and where I am. So background's very technical from an engineering perspective, but I've also been a builder and tinkerer when it comes to technology ever since I've been about 13, 14 years old. And that kind of stems from my parents never allowing me to play video games, but they allowed me to be on a computer. So I naturally play a lot of video games on a computer, but I also tinkered and played and built at the same time.
So where should we even start with this? I don't know. I'm trying to think of like the weirdest idea to just throw at you that we explored.
Do you want to start from the beginning, or do you want to start from the scariest and strangest?
In order of weirdness, we probably can't mention a couple of them. The first one was pretty weird. It was one that we didn't do. Everything falls into a category of things that we actually did or decided not to do. Yeah, it was. I had just finished up. That was our mutual acquaintance that introduced us. We were running a loose leaf tea company. We were the kind of first company to bring that Teavana, like loose leaf tea model,
yep,
to the GTA. We had Upper Canada Mall in Newmarket, Vaughan Mills, Oakville Place, and ended up exiting to Teopia. But as we were kind of exiting the retail like mall model, we were saying, what else could we do? Like, basically, we had tons of extra inventory we had to get rid of, and we were like, how are we going to sell this? Are we going to sell it door to door? We had a lot of background in door knocking, and we're going to sell it. We wanted to do these like tea parties. We had these duffel bags, and we tested it out at a university campus and done these tea parties and tested out all the products with people, and they put in these huge orders to buy stuff, and we were wondering if we could automate the process of ordering these duffel bags and becoming kind of reps and selling, and I went on this huge mission of studying MLM companies, and none of us had ever joined one, but they seemed kind of sketchy, but
kind of sketchy.
Yeah, well, at the time, like, we didn't know anything about them. They turned out to definitely be sketchy, which is why we didn't do it.
Exactly, that's what I was getting to.
Yeah, but it was that was the first scope that we ever worked on.
Yeah, and it kind of spawned from our mutual friend, where I had built an automation system for his landscaping company, and I think he kind of pitched that to you and said, "Come talk to me." And we sat down, and I built up a scope and built up an estimate of what it was going to take and how long it was going to take, and kind of presented it, and then did more research and realized that I don't think MLM was exactly what we wanted to get into.
Yeah.
It wasn't really an industry that it excited us from the side of looking at what the potential could be from the size of a company, but then when you look back of kind of what it means to the employees and how you actually build that big of a company, it kind of gets a little bit more sketchy.
Yeah. And then we upgraded the scope shortly after that. I remember I was still, that was within a month actually, because I was still working. I was working with Ethiopia for a little bit on that deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going to like an event. I went to an art school growing up, and I was there for drama, but there's all sorts of musicians and artists and stuff. And I went to a show from like a musician, sax player, same guy that ended up playing at our wedding 2 years later, I guess. And I was just blown away by how good the music was. And I was like, you listen to all the different radio stations, it's all the exact same music, and this was just phenomenal. And I was thinking, like, where would you even find this? And so I remember pitching you that idea. You're the first person that heard that idea. I was like, what if we built a company where we could distribute like curated music from independent musicians, because most of it's probably garbage, but if we could figure out a way to socially curate it and then deliver like a nice package of maybe 10 songs a week, I think it was.
And that was your comment of most of it is garbage is not necessarily true. Most of it is rather interesting, but not necessarily the greatest. I still have all that data, which is interesting. I still have all those songs that were uploaded to us. I mean, we had like probably 20,000 songs, in the very short period of time uploaded to us and shared to us.
It was hundreds a week were being submitted for curation.
Easily. So, I mean, that was Weekly Indie, which was the concept was deliver 10 songs to your inbox that were curated by somebody who would listen to the music and give you a little bit of a bio, a photo, and kind of some information on it. I mean, this is back in 2009-ish, I guess, somewhere around there. So like streaming services really didn't exist.
It looked exactly like Netflix. Before Netflix.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it had the very same sort of tile system where you had all those tiles set up.
$7 a month subscription, unlimited streaming. Yep.
Yeah. And that was kind of the same time that Netflix was starting that up. I think that's kind of what we based the model off of.
No, we'd never heard of it.
Oh, no, that's right. Netflix was still delivery at that point in time. It
absolutely.
wasn't streaming.
Netflix came to Canada in 2011. So
right. Anyways, but that was another project that we actually built. I mean, that one we actually went out and built.
We had press in 7 languages, 5 different countries, I think, and something like that. Maybe it was the other way around. Yeah.
It was a fun experience, too, because that was the first time that we really... the two of us together built something overseas. Previously, I had built a couple of things overseas and mainly just trial projects here and there and trying out some smaller stuff. But that was the first real big thing that we built. It functioned really well. I mean, it did well. It's just, fortunately, people that are willing to pay for independent music dropped off a cliff.
No, it wasn't even that. It was a lack of mentorship. Like, at that time...
I guess it's true.
I didn't have a Facebook account. That was before I started using Facebook. I got a Facebook account in 2010 so that I could run some internet ads on it. Like, I knew nothing about tech startups. Like, we were just idiots. Like,
I guess the product we had did have some intrinsic value to it. I mean, if you were to take that to a VC these days, you could build a pitch deck around it.
We had worldwide press. We had hundreds of musicians submitting music. We had hundreds of clients paying us on a monthly basis, $7 a month. Like I remember it was like our cost per acquisition. That's where we learned.
That's really for the marketing. Yeah, exactly.
We learned that we could put out this offer where we would pay. I think it was like $20 or $10. It was $10 for a credit card submit is what we were asking for.
Yeah, because I think we had it was a first month free, and then we rebuild at $7 after that.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
Credit card submit to get a first month free.
Yeah,
we had tons of people doing it.
Yeah,
and then 50% would actually convert and pay us $7, and then the average I think was something like 3 or 4 months that they would stay signed on for. And they were giving us great feedback as to what they didn't like, and like Weekly Indie made it sound a little bit more like it was an indie as a genre, and like I never even heard of that genre at the time.
We just thought independent music and said, that sounds good.
We were like, it wasn't like pop and rap and stuff.
Weekly pop.
And it was fantastic, but we looked at it and we said, look, we're not making enough money up front to cover the cost per acquisition, and people are dropping off after 3 months. And the cost to get a credit card submit was like $20 or $30, and it needed to be $10. Yeah. And so like we're just we're not billionaires today, so we should
clearly this shouldn't work.
We should just shut this down.
Yeah.
Whereas like those metrics are amazing. We just didn't know that, and no one told us that, so we just shut it down. But that was wow.
Oops.
We could even bring that back. That's like not even. I think it still would work. So what was the next thing? What did we do after that? It was.
Did Curate come after that, or
no? So after that was
affiliate marketing.
Marketing.
Yeah, where we both kind of jumped into the affiliate marketing scene.
Yeah.
And building landing pages and different products. And
did we get into affiliate marketing before Weekly Indie? I don't remember.
We might have been sprinkling in it.
It was around the same time, and then it was. So then, because I remember thinking we wanted to be the offer instead of promoting other people's offers.
Yeah.
But affiliate. What explain affiliate marketing?
So I guess affiliate marketing is essentially where you become, I would say, affiliate is the word, but it's more of like a representative for promoting other people's products. So there's lots of large networks. It's massive today. Back in the day, it was still rather huge, still millions and millions of dollars worth of revenue going through these channels. But it's essentially where you create advertisements or you co-brand something for an affiliate. You send traffic to their site, and if they convert, you get paid. So the model is basically where these other offers are trying to promote their product to you to say, hey, if you advertise this product, we'll give you a cut, we'll give you X, we'll give you Y. Sometimes it's a pay per click, sometimes it's a pay per conversion. Most of the time it's a pay for some sort of a credit card submitted or some sort of action that generates revenue for these companies. And that's where they started these large affiliate networks of companies that posted these offers and had affiliates working for them. And the two of us joined multiple different affiliate networks and started playing around with online advertising to basically generate ads and pay for ads that were cheaper than what we were actually making on a conversion. So the idea was if you can find an ad that converted at a cost per click and a cost per acquisition lower than what you were getting paid, you just try to find as many credit cards as possible so you could max out to make that work. That's basically the strategy, at least I employed. I don't know if your strategy was any different than that, but it was just constantly tweaking, trying to find ads that work and trying to find different advertising platforms that were cheaper than what anyone else could do to get that acquisition in.
Yeah, I think the timeline was early 2010 was Weekly Indie. It was the same time that we got into the affiliate marketing, because the big wave was the daily deals.
Yeah,
that was at the end of 2010. I think it was October 2010. That's when like the gold rush happened.
Yeah, it was massive.
So from October 2010 until February 2011 was when all these companies, every company tried to become a daily deal company. And
Living Social, you had all these guys out there.
You said millions.
It
was hundreds of billions of dollars. It was blown. Like I think it was around $250,000 with Groupon, maybe just Groupon alone, and I was running DealFind, WagJag, like Team Buy, Living
WagJag.
Social, KJB Deals in the UK. It was 10,000 people a day in Brazil. That was my kind of benchmark kind of record, making like $6,000 profit a day.
Yes.
Big wins.
And unbelievable paying, these companies were paying $2 for you to submit your email address on a form. And the only field on the form was just your email address. And like that's just unheard of these days. But back in the day, they were clearly building lists to boost their IPOs, i.e. Groupon, trying to build out as massive of a list as they possibly could have, so that when they go to IPO, they say, well, we have this many customers, active users, and it really helped their valuation.
Yeah, well, their story was, look, it costs us $3 to acquire an email, and then we make $3 back over the course of probably 6 months or whatever. Although that never happened.
No,
they didn't make it back.
And the 6 months was a little different projection than what actually happened versus the.
Which even if it did happen the way they said it, would have been a worse model than Weekly Indie. So that takes you through to early 2011.
Yep.
And then and that was drying up, and that was when I got married, I think, in January 2011, and then I think it was on my honeymoon that I was on a cruise. And,
yes, it was.
and there was a hypnotist on the cruise ships. On the cruise ships.
Can I stop you?
Yeah.
This one was the hardest sell to actually go to build. There were plenty of other ones out there, but this one was tough.
This was also gold. This is better than Week the Indy. So this on the cruise ships, they bring the talent out for the whole week because they're in the middle of nowhere, and the talent usually has like one good show and usually a second show that's okay. But they usually make them do 3 shows, and so the third show for this is like a get up and quack like a duck and all that kind of stuff. The typical.
Hypnotist, yeah.
It was awesome. It was hilarious. It worked on my wife. The third show was a weight loss seminar that he did, and he had the whole audience hypnotized and talking about weight loss, and I still remember it like it's like etched in my brain. And at the end of the show, he was like, "Yeah, I have CDs of these audio tracks, and you can buy them from me for $150, and you'll lose like all the weight you want." And there's a lineup down the aisle of these people like buying this CD, and I went and I waited until the lineup was done, and I just started talking to him. I was like, you ever sell this online? And he's like, online? I live on cruise ships. There's no internet. In the ocean. I've never used the internet. I just have CDs. And I was like, yeah, just give me the CDs and I'll try and sell it online for you. And there's like a 99% chance this is not going to work, but in the 1% chance that it does work, we'll all make like millions of dollars. And we struck up like a royalty deal for him, and it was like 5% royalties or something. And I don't know what it was, but we gave it a good run. The reason that like didn't work was, and even. It did. Like at the point that we shut it down with the metrics, like you would fund that company. Like that was
today you would fund it.
We could have built out a sales team and closed people all day long on that. We were charging like $90 for access to stream online. I lost 40 pounds over like 6 months.
I did not have the same success rate that you did.
Do you remember why? You remember why it didn't work? What the reason was?
All I remember is that I was not bought into it 100%, so I could have been the metric that caused us to not push that one over the edge. Yeah, I can't remember.
I remember you slowing down on iterating landing pages. I do remember that, but no, that's not what it was. So we were going to market, and the most important thing when you're doing e-commerce is who's going to process the credit cards for you.
Oh, that's right. We couldn't find anyone to process the credit cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sucked. I remember that.
It had nothing to do with us. It was unfair.
I couldn't find a merchant service that was willing to approve us. Now, I mean, we were 2 guys out of the basements of our houses at the time.
No, that's not what it was. You don't remember?
No, it was a product. It was the fact that it was weight loss.
Is the fact that it was weight loss.
Yeah,
you're right.
The fact that it was weight loss.
But had nothing to do with hypnosis.
No, that's true. They didn't really care about the hypnosis. It was because of all the other weight loss deals out there that had been cranking the chargeback. Yeah, the chargeback market that had killed it.
So there'd been a huge wave before daily deals, like before our time in affiliate marketing, where they would sell you a bottle of pills, and they were just like fake pills or whatever, and give you diarrhea or whatever it was. Yep. But they'd sell you the pills, and it was $1 for the bottle, and then they'd ship you the bottle, and then if you liked it, you didn't cancel, and you got rebilled for $100 or whatever it was, and almost every time it would actually bill you the $100 before you even got your free sample, and there was no way to cancel, and these are all like offshore companies, and what would happen is people would go to the credit card company and say, hey, I got scammed by this online rebill thing for this weight loss offer, and so the credit card companies, Visa and MasterCard, would say, okay, fine, here's your money back, we're going to shut those people down. And eventually they just said, we're blacklisting weight loss rebills using the internet. We didn't even know anything about this at the time. Yeah. we weren't selling them. They said we were even worse because we weren't going to actually physically ship them anything. There's no proof that we actually did anything. And we were saying, look, we can prove that they're listening to the audio.
Yeah.
But they were like, nope, it's blacklisted. The same thing happened for the daily deals, for that matter. You try starting a daily deal site in 2011. They tell you no. But
yeah, it's amazing how much the merchant services online really control everything.
Yeah.
It is going to get more and more interesting as we see the semblance of cryptocurrencies and those types of things that basically take that out of the hands of the Visas and the MasterCards of the world and move it more towards decentralization and allowing people to spend their money how they feel based on whatever company's out there. I mean, yeah, it's going to open up a lot of risk for people. You know, you're going to be writing off that money if the company is truly a scam, but it is interesting out there that, yeah, there's so many businesses that are just not allowed to start online because the Visa and MasterCards of the world just say no. And it's just a hard no, and there's no real appeals or anything like that. It's their business, it's their processing, and it is what it is.
If they had let us run it as a rebuild, like $1 for the free trial or $1 trial, and then a $50 rebuild, we'd be billionaires by now. Like a long time ago. That was So they let us do it. They forced us to do a straight sale.
Yeah,
which
we had to do a straight sale up front.
Has never been profitable since like ads first existed. I guess they were profitable then, but.
And nobody would pick us up from an affiliate campaign either, because the conversion on that is terrible versus.
It wasn't even that bad. I think I remember it was about $150 to convert something to $80, which today is like amazing metrics. Like obviously we should work on that, but like after spending like maybe $500 making this whole company.
Our $500 to $1,000 investment. Yeah.
I remember being so proud. We had like $2 long form.
Yeah.
Like for weight loss leads, like we were doing really well with it, but. I remember calling people and talking to them. They tell you their life story for like hours on the phone. It was wild. But yeah, no, shut that one down.
Yeah,
we're definitely only interested in getting rich quick. If it's gonna take us like a decade of shutting down things that don't get us rich quick, then that's fine.
Meanwhile, the whole time I'm doing this, I'm working full time. So your get rich quick is more of a higher priority than mine, because I was just like, okay, well, it is what it is. If I get rich, fantastic.
You're already rich, yeah.
Well, I wasn't already rich, but far from it. But yeah, my motivation was not nearly the same as yours on a lot of these things. But I think following that, we did get into Curate. I think we led into Curate, or was Lesson Vendor before Curate?
You know what? We actually discovered Planswell after that.
That's true. That was leaked in there. I know Planswell has been along for a while.
2012 is when we discovered that people would... Yeah, like people needed financial plans so badly that they would give an unbranded, sketchy looking website like all of their financial details to make a plan.
It was well branded.
Yeah, it was like a ripoff of the Government of Canada
exactly.
website.
Yeah, well branded.
So that was a big realization then, but it wasn't something that we could act on at the time because we didn't really want to just run around selling leads to advisors. We needed to actually build a company that could produce, the world's greatest financial plans and then also implement them, because the problem was a third of the people that were filling it out had less than $100,000. Nobody wanted to talk to them, so that took a bit of time. The easiest thing I ever sold was the leads that came out of that to advisors. The hardest thing I ever sold was the idea to actually build this company to those same advisors. What are you going to do? Start a bank? You can't just start a bank. That was 2012.
Yeah.
And then 2013 was Curate. Around like really early 2013 was Curate. That was also huge.
That's a
huge
big
wins for. That was the biggest build.
That was a big build.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, that one took a lot of time to scope out, because we were essentially building like a quasi Facebook.
We spent more on Lesson Vendor than Curate.
Yeah, I would say the complexity of Lesson Vendor wasn't as much as the complexity of Curate.
Curate was a very different idea.
Yeah.
No one had ever really. There was nothing to go on. Like Lesson Vendor, we like ripped off Airbnb. Basically.
Yeah. So I guess Curate. I mean, we can explain Curate. So Curate was basically a socially curated search engine. So we have the problem that basically when you go to search anything on Google, you're searching what is the most SEO optimized page for that result. Google would refute that statement in saying that they are delivering the best content to you, the best ads to you, the most relevant ads at the top of that search engine, and then the most matched page underneath based on their algorithms. But back in the day, before they've gotten more and more smart about their algorithms these days, that it really was who was gaming the SEO system the most with Google. That's who got put on the first page. It was the link back farms. It was the massive SEO efforts that were going on by all these different people at the time. That has changed a lot in the last couple of years alone. But we were trying to find a way to deliver content to people that was really socially curated. Like, I mean, if you go to a restaurant, you're going to look it up on Yelp, you're going to read reviews and say, okay, well, what does this look like? We wanted to kind of mimic a similar experience from a social standpoint for search results. So from anything on the web. So that's really what the concept and the idea was. And then I mean, you could talk a bit more about the gamification that we tried to build in to really build the growth strategy of it. Because it's one thing to have a socially curated site, but it's another thing to have a socially curated site with actually having content on it. Like a page that has a couple of hits, a couple of pieces of content's useless. You need to amass the internet, which Google has done, but this was a slightly different context. So we had to find a way to get people to amass the internet and then also be passionate about rating that content as well to drive the best results to people.
Yeah, that's a good summary of it. The video, we actually made a video of that summary as an explainer video before explainer videos were a thing. Before we had maybe to us at least, we had never seen like the whiteboard animations or whatever. We outsourced that video. We got it done for maybe $10. And it was my voice. You can still find it online if you look it up. So Qrate was spelled Qrate. And we had pretty good ownership over that word as well. But yeah, the basic idea was that the two of the most searched words on the internet are best and top. And my theory on that is that people are looking for socially curated results. They're looking for an opinion, generally a crowdsourced opinion, and you're generally getting what one like author at one magazine thinks about this, and that's not really what you're looking for. So, and that while Yelp can support their own website for restaurants, and you can support an entire website for movies, you maybe can't support an entire website for flavors of like regular bottled water or whatever, right? Like whatever thing like is in front of you, like there's no rating site for that. But if you were to put it all on one site, that it might be sustainable. But yeah, what you were saying, like the problem is the chicken and the egg problem. Like how do you seed a search engine that you want all the content on the search engine to be added by humans? And so we created a really cool incentive model. We said the whole company is going to be based on ad revenue, from like display ads and sponsored search and whatnot. And 50% of all the ad revenue would go to the people that created the content that the ad revenue was generated on. So if you created like the category movies, for example, and anyone who would go to that category and look at movies, you'd get basically a half of an impression's worth of revenue, which is very not very valuable. But what you would get is residual points, so that every time, like if you created movies and you added Shawshank Redemption, which has been number 1 on IMDb forever, you would, if that category did as well as IMDb does as a whole, I think we worked it out. You would earn like 11 Porsche 911s a year or something. Yeah. It was like, you could get a decent return on your efforts if it blew up. And so a lot of people bought into that. We would incentivize contests further by giving away, 10,000 points here, 20,000 points there for whoever in this hour of the day can create the most content or rate the most things or add the most things. And we had maybe 2,000. I remember the stats vividly. It was 2,000 active users created 6,000 categories and added 36,000 competitors to those categories. In like 2 months maybe. We only crashed the servers a couple times during contests.
It wasn't that bad. Those were some fun nights, but we figured it out.
We were winning for sure. Like that, you needed this SEO, and we were getting tons of SEO on weird categories.
It was very long tail stuff.
Best truck to drive during a zombie apocalypse, or like best video on how to make your ass clap, or like there was a lot of long tail stuff, and it was picking up steam over the course of 3 months. The traffic was like beautiful hockey stick growth. It was doing really well. And then, of course, like what would everybody want to rate on the internet more than anything else? Like porn started showing up.
That was the problem.
And we got a nice warning from Google at one point. We were trying to run our own ads, and they were like, you can't advertise this website. This website is adult content. We're like, what the hell are you talking about?
I remember that. I remember the notification coming across the AdSense account and saying, you're an adult content. You're no longer able to advertise. And I went, really? Okay, so start digging a little bit more into the records, start digging more into the database, and then found out somebody brilliantly, don't get me wrong, brilliantly started creating porn categories and uploading a whole bunch of content there that clearly was no longer safe for work. When you get into that realm of the internet, you get slapped extremely hard from the safe searches of the world and from those algorithms, and that pretty much tanked us at that point because we couldn't clean it up quick enough to stay ahead of it. And at that point, once again, it was two of us and then one developer and two developers essentially overseas building this. And, you know, we didn't have the machine learning algorithms to test the content being put up and the safe word list. I think at one point we had the concept of developing a word list of things that we couldn't put on there, and that only works so long until you update the list. Like you need some pretty intelligent technology to do it. I mean, today it would be a lot easier to do, but back in the day,
there's only two of us working part-time on this. Like it's pretty hard to stay on top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're gonna compete for like search engine optimization and being the best keywords and whatnot, porn is not where you want to do that. Like there's enough porn on the internet. Like you're not gonna win at that game. But yeah, I remember vividly, like when we got that, we noticed that like by random, like just by trying to run our own ads, and right away if you looked at analytics, the beautiful hockey stick, just there was a straight line to zero.
Yeah,
we never had another organic search click again. Yeah, obviously a problem that you could overcome, but we just gave up at that point. And,
it would have taken too long for two guys to overcome that problem because it would be a lot of cleanup and then a lot of preventing and a lot of convincing of Google that we are good, and that takes a lot of time in their algorithms. We might have even had to change the URL to really even get it anywhere close
from scratch.
Yeah,
but we had a validated product. We could have raised money at that point, but again, we didn't know what we were doing. Still had never met anyone that had even raised money. We didn't.
True.
Our idea of raising money was like, where can we get $50,000 from?
Yeah.
It was like, this is not going to make a company. But yeah, so then it was Lesson Vendor. I remember so we actually decided on the platform before the concept.
That's correct.
We saw Airbnb, and I was running Airbnb out of my house. I was making $2,000 a month.
That's where the idea came from.
Yeah, and it was amazing, and we knew we wanted to do that. You remember the first idea?
I do remember the first idea. I don't know if we want to talk about the Starbucks baby concept, but
no, that's not what I was thinking about.
Oh, that was not what you thought about.
We can talk about Starbucks baby. I'm not ashamed. Just trying to help people out. It's filling a gap. You want me to talk about it?
Sure. You might as well talk about Starbucks baby because that one didn't get off the ground in my books. So.
No, we didn't do it, but we didn't do it yet. But no, we have. I have some friends that in kind of same-sex couples is more common, where they're looking at like the artificial kind of insemination and sperm donors and that realm, and I was learning that this is like a very expensive thing to do, and there's actually like a huge like group of people who like not as a group, but like there's a huge portion of the population that will actually find people on Craigslist or Kijiji or one of these like free classified sites, and they'd interview people like you're interviewing for a job, and they would just take that risk, and you know they sometimes I guess they have to come with a clean test or whatever, but even that doesn't, like, you know, you could have got something recently or whatever, but they take the risk, and the most popular place to do it was. And I'm actually do it. They're not like doing it.
You should change that.
What happens is the way it's done is the guy goes into the bathroom first by himself, and then comes out, and then the girl goes into the bathroom by herself, and the guy had left like a cup behind in the bathroom or whatever, right? So, and they call it's called the Starbucks baby. So like that's where you came from.
And now everyone listening knows why I didn't really jump on board right away.
So we were saying right now you have two options. One is that you pay thousands of dollars to get it from a sperm bank, or you pay nothing and you like are extremely risky and you find it on Craigslist. And
it might cost you a coffee.
We could make up the gap. Like we could be the middle ground. Like we could have a vetting process. We could have background checks. We could do STD screens. We could have maybe facilities that like, you know, better than Starbucks. There's like a middle ground here.
You're changing the definition of a SaaS service. Like you're changing the name of the S to the first as a service. But yes, that was the model. The model was to develop some sort of SaaS service.
It would look just like Airbnb. There'd be pins all over the map of where the studs are that you can like meet up with, and like, you know, you pay and whatever. But yeah, Scott didn't want to do it, so you know, whatever. So that was the first. Okay, that was the first idea. The next idea was Supper Pad.
Yes, Supper Pad was the next one, but no, the Supper Pad concept was the concept of basically hosting your own supper. Essentially, kind of, it was like Uber Eats but on steroids. Well before Uber Eats existed, where you would invite people over to your house and cook them dinner, or you could go to their house and you could cook dinner in their house. There's lots of services out there doing that right now, but there really wasn't a marketplace for that availability. So the concept was to have people post their house on SupperPad, and you could go on there and sign up for a dinner at somebody's house, and you go in and you meet new people, but they also cook you a fantastic dinner, and they would tell more about themselves and what the food they were going to cook, and basically it created mini restaurants all over the city, and that's kind of what the concept for SupperPad was. I can't remember why it was just not gonna be very
I don't even
good.
want to go to dinner at most of my friends' houses.
Correct. So we thought about it and said, yeah, that's a cool experience. And then we thought about, well, that's actually a pretty awkward experience. Showing up at somebody's door randomly. You don't know who they are.
I don't want to do that at all.
And like, no, this isn't going to work. So
there's dozens, like one of the Airbnb, like employee number 1 or whatever, went out and started a company, I think it was called Gusto or something, doing exactly the same model, and it failed, and it had all the attention of Y Combinator and everybody. So if they couldn't do it, like what were we going to do differently? But yeah, it was just the realization that this is just a dumb idea. I don't want to eat at people's houses.
Yeah.
Like, that's not, so yeah, but then we came up with lessons. I remember September 2013, was it? When, yeah, it would have been 2013, where
13, yes, roughly around there.
That tutoring site, Tutor Spree, shut down in New York.
Yes.
And they were hugely funded and well backed, and I just thought they were doing it wrong.
They had hundreds of employees too.
Yeah, it was big.
Pretty big.
But we just had a better idea of how to like structure it, and not have it be focused so much on tutoring.
Yeah.
The idea was that this is the craziest market. I still can't get over this. The private lessons, one-on-one, in-person lessons market is $200 billion a year.
Yeah. Globally.
It's 3 times the size of the entire video game industry. Okay? Now, if you want to go buy a video game, can you think of a few places that you would go buy a video game? Of course. There's countless places that you know off the top of your head of where you buy a video game. If you want to take a cooking lesson, where are you going to go? If you want to take a knitting lesson, where are you going to go? Like, nobody knows. Like, there's no obvious place to go to take a lesson. Like, you're going to go look at the lamppost in front of your house and maybe tear off a tab, and you're going to, like, maybe check Kijiji or Craigslist for, like, something weird and sketchy. But yeah, there's just, like, no obvious things. We were like, we could be that thing.
Yeah, so there really wasn't a platform for people to take on and take a lesson. Like, where can you go to search any sort of lesson that you want to take? And we said, well, why don't we be that provider and we be that system? So we basically mimicked the Airbnb website completely, but allowed people to create their own profile of the lesson that they wanted to give. I think I still remember the top lesson was that astrology lesson that was on the East End of Toronto. I don't know why that one kept on showing up, but
I took it.
Yeah. Oh, you did take it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It was West End. It was like Ronsonsville.
Oh, okay.
I went and met. She was a hairdresser who knew astrology really well and was willing to teach it at a coffee shop for an hour, and I got to learn all about it. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, but yeah, like basically what is random different types of. I mean, we got lots of people posting, English lessons and guitar lessons and those types of things. People were posting those types of lessons online, and
it's about 6,000 people posting.
Yeah, it was
lessons.
Roughly around there, and then we started going across the country too. So that was kind of the first one that really got national with respect to mapping and that type of stuff. But
that was international.
Did we go?
Oh yeah,
we were in the U.S.
We were
That's
in
right.
Europe.
That's right.
Most of it was between New York and Toronto.
Yeah,
but it was all over the States because we were using like Craigslist.
Yes,
all over.
We were hacking Craigslist ads.
We had ads running in every city that you could find a classified for. Australia, it was everywhere. For jobs, people, everybody has a skill. That was the idea, right? You can monetize your home through Airbnb, you can monetize your car through Uber, but like, where do you get to monetize your knowledge and your skills that you have? And everybody has something that they could teach to somebody else.
Your knowledge of fine woodworking, for example, like how do you monetize that besides building tables? Right?
I took a cooking lesson where this lady came to my home and taught me 5 things I could cook in under 5 minutes. So it was like, if I can cook it faster than macaroni and cheese, like, maybe I'll eat macaroni and cheese a little bit less. And try something else. So I learned how to make like breakfast burritos and flatbread pizzas, and it was a really cool lesson.
I mean, that one was fun because we had like a bunch of little technology stuff built in there for geo positioning people. So when you landed on the page, it moved you to your IP in the map and knew where you were, and really centered the experience towards where you were in Canada or in the US for that matter. But I think the coolest part of that was the realization of how easy it was to get people to convert from a job ad. And the job ad traffic that we had, where we were gaming that system a lot because you were not allowed to post URLs in job ads. You weren't allowed to use certain things in job ads, but we were able to create a lot of job ads all across the country and all around the world. That was basically boosting our SEO because people were searching for lesson vendor at the time, even though we didn't have any URLs in there. So we were both getting search and getting lots of people to come onto the site and post content.
I remember everywhere between Toronto and New York, those were the only places I tested.
Yeah.
If you typed in LESS into a search engine, it would auto suggest lesson vendor.
Yeah.
Which didn't really help because nobody searches lesson; they search like guitar lessons.
Yeah,
that didn't actually help us.
That was the problem.
Sales, but I was proud of that. I'm mildly uncomfortable discussing the success that we've had with job ads because that I think is like ultra important, valuable stuff, and I'm okay with giving it away, but it's like it's something I never tell people about because I was like we were comparing ourselves to Airbnb and we were saying, look, those guys are paying about $150 to acquire somebody who's willing to rent out their spare bedroom. So if we could acquire people that are willing to basically rent out their knowledge for less than $150, we're doing better than Airbnb, and that would be pretty cool. We were acquiring them for $2. Like we had like 6,000 people in like two months do it, and I think maybe even less than $2 in total if you add that up. But that was amazing.
I can't remember when we stopped that.
Well, so because we ran out of money, first of all.
Well, yeah, that was one thing, and then we just decided we didn't want to put any more money into it.
We were all the metrics that we compared ourselves to in Airbnb was how many hosts they had. So we said as their number of hosts went up, the number of sales went up, everything went up with the number of hosts. Yeah. Their whole thing was just go get hosts. That's why they were running around with cameras and going into people's homes in New York and stuff.
Yeah.
And so we were like, let's just forget about making sales. Let's just get tons of lessons and hopefully sales will come. And we were doing the same SEO stuff. And, if you were looking for how to make a bath bomb, or if you were looking for that was the biggest one, was how to speak with a British accent for a television commercial audition. We sold like dozens. We were making this lady rich. Like, and it was the only place you could get that lesson. So like, easy to search for it, but we could never crack into the piano and the guitar and all the typical
where
stuff.
The real money was for those people. Yeah.
We started getting advice from people who kind of knew about SEO, and they looked at it and they said, look, if you want to get guitar lesson traffic, you need to have a guitar lesson website. If you have a website that has like less than 1% of the content about guitar lessons, you're never going to rank for that. And that was a bit disheartening kind of feedback to get.
One thing we never really even tried was paid traffic. We were on the SEO train for Lesson Vendor for a long time.
We had to because we made $3 on a lesson.
Yeah, exactly. Because the margins were so slim, we were like, we can't afford to pay.
And then they cut you out. They never do the lesson again because it's a novelty, right?
I remember all the systems we had to build to block email addresses and telephone numbers to try to keep people on platform, because as soon as they meet, then they're off platform, right? And so we had to create an experience that was going to drive people to be on the platform as much as possible, which was a struggle as well, and that's one of the reasons why we really didn't keep going with it. I remember now too, because if you go to somebody and have a lesson, and it was a great experience for a guitar lesson, and they talk about, well, do you want to come back? They're going to book another time with you right there. They might not put that back onto the platform because they know that we're taking a small percentage of that transaction. I mean, our margins were razor thin as
We had
it was,
solutions for that, though.
We had lots of different ideas, incentivization.
We had great ideas. So the search algorithm, so like Airbnb, for example, I think at the time it shows you 18 places you can stay on the map, even though there's like 1,000 or 10,000 or whatever in a city. It'll only show you 18. It'll be the best 18 for you. So if you get that, like we had 6,000 people, we had like 4,000 people in Toronto.
Yeah, building out that rating system.
And so what we were going to do is that the way that we'd rank the search was based on the average number of lessons completed per client.
Yeah.
The average number of hours spent. So if you consistently had one lesson and then never had another lesson, we'd know that you were either like awful or you were just cutting us out.
Yeah,
and we would just not serve you in the search results. So,
yeah.
And we would communicate this algorithm to our teachers, so they had an incentive to get the client to pay the extra $3. Like it's not even a lot of money.
No, it wasn't a lot of money at all.
We had solutions for that. We just couldn't figure out how to sell a lesson for less than $3 because that's all we made. And again, we're only looking to get rich quick. Like we didn't.
Once again, we were doing other things, and this was a thing on the side. We
can't make exponentially more immediately, then I'm out. But yeah, so lesson vendor, we didn't actually shut that down until last year, I think.
Yeah, I finally stopped paying for the hosting, so it's done now. But we still have the code and everything. But
yeah.
And then after that, we ramped up on sitting in a basement talking about Planswell.
Yeah.
It's basically when it started. And now we're here.
Yeah, here we are.
In a room talking about how we got to financial planning, which is kind of a strange concept. But if you go back to each individual one of those things, I mean, we've employed very similar tactics to help us to get here, but I see ways that we're going to be able to use each of those individual components and lessons that we learned and those various things into our product vision, into our client acquisition and really driving that throughout the entire Planswell business. Probably a little less on the Starbucks than the hypnosis, but the other aspects we can definitely build into the business, which has been a fun experience to get to where we are. And it's been a very cool learning experience, but now that we're here full time and really trying to build this vision, it's looking back, it's been fun to really see how we're going to use every little experience along the way and really tweak and build Planswell to be building the greatest financial plans for Canadians. It might be an interesting story one day as to how that came to be and what the backstory is, but it's certainly going to be a phenomenal story going forward for all of our employees and our clients.
I'm just excited to get into pizza.
We should talk about pizza because that was the original concept before we really even started building out the product. I mean,
I wouldn't say it's it was one idea that for a while was the main topic of conversation.
We didn't. I mean, the two of us went in and tried to buy a pizza place together.
Yes, we did bought a pizza place.
So let's. we did get pretty serious about it. Okay.
What we learned from all of these companies is that it's all about distribution. If you don't have distribution, don't bother building anything else.
Yeah.
And our idea for a while was let's buy a pizza place and give out free pizza to anybody who makes a plan, and anybody who implements a plan gets free pizza for life.
Yep.
And I still don't have a reason why that isn't a fantastic idea. So we're probably going to do that.
Yeah, it might happen. We'll just timestamp this podcast and rip it out when we launch freeslice.ca.
Did you see the pizza book that I brought in today?
No, I didn't.
I left it on Eddie's desk.
I have to read through it.
It's like 4 inches thick. It's the world's greatest pizza places
nice.
From around the world.
Yeah, I think that is important. There's a lot of people with amazing startup ideas out there, or amazing concept for a cool product and a cool way or tweak on an existing way to do something. Most of them are digital, most of them are online, but the real key is, okay, yes, it's a great concept, but how are you going to tell the masses to use it? And how are you going to communicate that and effectively get people on your product? And that's always a hurdle that a lot of people come through with their ideas, and the growth hacking piece is so important to really drive the business to where you need to be, because you can have the greatest idea in the world, but you're going to need the clients to back that up to make sure that it's going to be sustainable into the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Distribution. That's pretty much the story. I don't think we missed anything.
No, I guess we'll just have to come back in 6 months to a year and do the exact same podcast as to where we left off here to where we are now.
I feel like
and what we've learned along the way.
We've learned a lot more than we talked about, that's for sure. But yeah, I guess that is the whole story. Yeah, that's good. So that's all for today's episode.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming to the Plancast. Thanks for listening to the Plancast. This is our podcast by Planswell. I'm your host, Eric Arnold, CEO. Our guest today was Scott Wetton, COO. You can make a plan today in about 3 minutes. You can find out exactly what you need to do on a monthly basis to maintain your lifestyle throughout the rest of your life, when you put your kids through school and when you retire. You can go to planswell.com and get started right now. Thanks.
It starts with a